the network fundamentals whenever needed. Okay, so starting further without any delay. So let's start with the networking fundamentals. Okay, and to say one of the thing is that now the session will be much more kind of technical in nature, and the theory part, most of the theory parts were in the SOC, in the module 1, which is SOC, and now it's over, so it'll be much more like straightforward and easier to kind of understand. Okay, so we'll start with the network. Okay, so give me 1 second, guys. Let's see if something comes up. This break is not that good. Just give me 1 second. Okay, anyways, let's quickly start with the session. So what I mean to say is that network is nothing, but it refers to kind of two or more kind of connected computers that can kind of share resources such as data, printer, internet connections and all. So as you see, like in this diagram, it's basically kind of like a router, like there are different computers, like printers and like hubs and switches, and all of these components are somehow kind of interconnected by each other. Like every component has a route, like this computer has a route to reach this computer by multiple ways. Okay, so that's what kind of a network means. Network means like two or more connected computers or any kind of devices are connected to each other via, let's say, any kind of medium, like let's say wireless or satellite communication or wired network, let's say. Okay, so that's all what the network means. And the cloud diagram over here, the diagram of cloud normally means like kind of the public internet that we normally use. Okay, so that's what kind of a network means. And let's kind of now start with kind of looking at more depth, like what are the different kind of network that we see. So there are like three things which you guys will definitely kind of encounter, which is LAN, MAN, and WAN. Okay, and the thing is that LAN, what is LAN? So LAN is one of the kind of smallest component, and it's basically, once again, actually, yeah. So LAN is something which is like kind of a local area network. It is a computer network that covers a very kind of a small area. So let's say a very small area. Okay, and such that like maybe let's say home. Okay, our home. Okay, or a building. And LAN typically kind of connect devices like computers, printer, and server using kind of like, let's say, in Ethernet cable and Wi-Fi. Okay, and an example of LAN will be it's like, let's say, a small business, something like a kind of a startup, which might use a LAN to connect all their office computers so that they can kind of share files and resources. So let's say this is one startup company, a very small company, and it has kind of, let's say, multiple computers in it. So let's say it has multiple computers in its laptop, or let's say it has printers, for an example. So printers and kind of computers, for an example, and these devices will be like kind of a, it will be kind of a small area actually, and all these devices will be somehow connected to each other, let's say. Okay, so let's say there is a router in between, and all the devices are somehow connected to each other, and either by kind of wired network, or let's say via wireless. Okay, so typically, like let's say our own home, we have a router, and we connect our mobile or computers to that router. So that's basically a LAN. Okay, now let's let's understand kind of what MAN is. So MAN normally means metropolitan area network. Okay, so what it will be something like, let's say we just kind of copy this whole stuff. Okay, and let's say we make a copy of that. Okay. Okay. So MAN. So now what is MAN? So MAN is a network that covers a large geographic area, which is kind of which is kind of greater than the LAN. Okay, but not very large to say. Okay, and MAN, which is something which is typically used to connect multiple land together in a city, or let's say in metropolitan area. Okay, for example, let's say there's a city government. Okay, so city government might use a MAN to connect all the various department. Uh, let's say this is the police department, for an example. Let's say this is the fire fire department, for example, and this is, let's say, the civil code. Okay, so thing is that in man area network, what will happen is that there will be, let's say, there's a central router. Okay, there's a central router, and all this local area network are kind of somehow connected to this central router. Okay, and so this LAN, that there are three LANs, and they can kind of communicate with each other. So that's what kind of basically a MAN means. So MAN is something which is little bit like more, what it covers a more wider area than LAN, and it helps into kind of the MAN is concept is that it will help different kind of LANs to kind of connect with each other. So that's what basically a MAN means. And now the last thing, which is WAN. So WAN is something which is called as wide area network, and that covers a large geographic area. Okay, such as a country or even the entire world. Okay, and WAN typically uses kind of let's say long distance communication like satellites, link, fiber optic cables, or leased phone lines. Okay, so one of the things is that internet is the largest WAN in the world. So let's say, so it is typically something like this. Okay, so let's say this is so let's say like this is the computers in India, for an example, and this is the computer in, let's say, US. So all around the globe, the devices are somehow connected. So let's say there are satellites. Okay, satellites, or let's say the underwire cables. Okay, so somehow the let's say all the WANs, all the LANs, all the WAN are connected all over the world via different kind of means. It can be either by satellite communication, it can be either by direct leased lines and all. So WAN is something which is kind of covers the whole geographic, maybe it will kind of cover the whole world. So that's what it basically what LAN, MAN, and WAN means. Okay, so now and after understanding this, we will kind of go to the next topic, which is understanding the OSI layers. Okay, so before that, there will be certain other things like there will be certain other kind of discussions regarding the topology. Okay, so what I mean by topology is that let's talk about now a LAN network. So there can be kind of different kind of topology by which architecture by which the devices are connected. So one of the what I mean by topology, the basic example, it's a bus topology, for an example. Okay, so let's say there is a wire that's go from here to here. Okay, and all the computers are somehow kind of are kind of connected to this wire, the same wire. Okay, so what would happen is that so this is a wire and all the computers are kind of connected to it. Okay, so now this is the simplest architecture that can be in a LAN. So what would happen here is that if computer 1 needs to kind of communicate with computer 3, so they use the same same wiring and kind of transfer the data.